Right now on Tech Radio, when does a shoe company become an AI company?
Hi, I'm Artemis. I am a computer-generated AI voice, and you're listening to Tech Radio.
Every week online, we bring you the latest in tech from Ireland and across the world. You're welcome into episode 1112 with a call for Ireland to switch off its copper network entirely ahead of an EU deadline. A shoe company that thinks it's an AI company, and an entire movie has just been leaked on X. Plus, we'll be finding out loads about the forthcoming Knowledge Summit, which is coming to Dublin at the end of June, with our guest, founder Barry Byrne.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
I'm Dusty. Joining me as always is our editor-in-chief, Niall Kitson. Niall, copper, gone. Whatever will we use?
No, let's not go nuts here. This was a call made by Cyro to basically discontinue, switch off the copper telecommunications network in the country. On one level, of course they would. They are a fibre company, and they have just passed their 700,000th premises. Basically, between Cyro, NBI, all the commercial operators, Ireland basically has full coverage of fibre broadband. If you want fibre broadband, there's a substantial chance you'll be able to get it now, which means that we're starting to look sort of beyond copper. And when I say beyond copper, I mean ADSL, traditional phone lines, which if you were lucky would give you like 25 megs per second. Yeah. Up to fibre to the curb broadband, which a lot of people still have, myself included, which will get you up to 100 if you're lucky. But, you know, still a pretty good connection. Fibre to the home, which is what the current contemporary offering is, will get you up to 2 gigs. Mm-hmm. So that's the scale that we're talking about here. So the call is for, okay, let's get rid of fibre. EU actually has a roadmap for getting rid of fibre. They say by 2030. Now, there is sort of discussion as to whether there should be a grace period up to 2035 because it is such a massive infrastructure project. 2030 for Ireland sounds probably about right. Yeah. A couple of things on that, though. As the aforementioned, a lot of people are still on fibre to the curb or fibre to the cabinet, as is sometimes related. Another one is that government can't simply say, okay, switch it off, because the government doesn't own it. Because as we always talk about, the greatest disastrous decision the government made when it came to the flotation of Eircom was keeping the business, the service and the infrastructure the same. They treated them one and the same, which meant that when it came time to upgrade the network, there was no commercial case for doing so. Okay. Which left us being behind on broadband for so long. For so long. It was a commercial decision. Eventually the applications caught up and the business case was there. But there's no future-proofing of the Eircom network. Or the Air network, if you will. So we have that, right? On one level, it's, you know, Air own the network. They get to decide when they switch it off. Now, Air or Eircom, I think it was the time, actually, no, it was still Air, about 5 years ago, released a paper saying, look, we know this is coming. This is kind of what we foresee this as a problem. We know copper is going to be switched off. To which Comreg went, yep, thanks for raising that issue. We were going to, but okay. Europe, of course, were like, we're fine. We told you this.
You were saying that Europe are thinking of 2035, or there's a call for 2035, whereas like kind of Ireland, we're kind of thinking 2030. But I mean, if we're practically there, well, 2030 is a breeze. What are they doing in the UK? Because that's the closest major market to us.
UK, they're actually switching it off in January 27. So, you know, only a couple of months away. Now, however, there are problems with turning off the copper network, which date back to the fact that it was there was no commercial case for broadband for so long, because there's an awful lot of hardware out there still reliant on copper networks, right? And we're looking at specific products, right? So you've got very old alarm systems for homes and businesses. You have panic buttons, very often used by senior citizens.
Yeah.
You've got certain kinds of point of sale systems. You've got certain kinds of payment processing systems that still use it. And, you know, this isn't a new thing. Like, you might remember we were talking about the Minitel years ago. This is sort of a proto-internet device, and its network was only switched off a couple of years ago, despite it never being widely adopted across Europe. It did very well in France. And what happened was that because so few people were actually using the network it was based on, it was actually really secure for low bandwidth functions like transfers between banks.
Interesting. Okay,
Super secure because nobody was using it. It was almost like a dedicated network. So, you know, it lasted much, much longer than its, you know, functional use. But, you know, there is very often good reasons for keeping around dated infrastructure.
But so, the de facto standard, though, is fibre now, today.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Fibre to the home.
So it's a question of, you know, do we get it? I suppose they're not really saying, and of course, as you correctly pointed out there, they're not saying get rid of copper. What they're saying is that the fibre will be the de facto standard from 2030. And that will be the required. If you want copper, knock yourself out.
No, copper gone. Copper network switched off by 2030. They want it gone.
All right. Okay. So I suppose. It's it's a little bit like, now I'll bring you back to, because I'm a radio guy, as you know. And what's interesting is back in the late 80s, early noughties, when the pirate radio scene was shut down and legalized commercial radio was started, most of the pirates were operating on AM and FM. So they'd medium wave and FM transmitters. Okay. And the government at the time said, you know what, for local radio, FM's perfect. We're only going to do FM. All of the applicants and people in the radio industry who went bananas. We can't operate a business without medium wave AM transmitters. They really didn't want them. Interesting, isn't it? But it went FM only and everything worked out fine. So I'm sure the same with this. Anyways, listen, on to other stories this week. Now, Snap, Snapchat, and Snap is the parent company. They do have employees in Ireland. Worldwide, though, not good news.
Yeah, Snap apparently laying off 1,000 staff, counts to 16% of the workforce. Some interesting stuff here. I mean, you know, we are going through a particular phase of layoffs, right, that have been either directly or indirectly attributed to AI. So Microsoft, Amazon, Oracle, and Block are the ones that, you know, took up the headlines in the very recent past / present. So 1,000 jobs on the line. Apparently, this kind of kicked off when Irenic Capital Management, who are sort of an activist investor in Snap, sent the CEO a letter. CEO is Evan Spiegel, saying, look, hey, start making money, cut your costs, or bring in more money. We don't care. We just want this to be a profitable company now. So the decision was made. Okay, look, we're going to fire 1,000 people, but we're going to make it back on AI, right? We're going to deliver efficiency through AI. And in reading this article, I came across a phrase. Now, maybe it's been out there already, but it's the first time that I've come across it. AI washing. AI washing.
AI washing. What exactly
Basically,
do they mean by that?
Saying we are cutting off staff to introduce AI-based efficiencies, as opposed to saying we're cutting off staff because we can't afford them.
Okay, so what you're telling me is, they're basically kind of going, okay, we're going to get rid of 16% of our workforce and they're going to be replaced by AI. But just to kind of make this all sound a little bit nicer, we're going to call the process AI washing. Of course, they're not calling it AI washing, but essentially they're washing the company out using AI and getting rid of the dirt, i.e. 16% of the workforce.
No, it's basically, we have to lose 1,000 people one way or the other. This is it, right? how do we do it in a way that does not make the company look weak and therefore unattractive to investors, right? Because if you see a company that's losing money, why would you invest in it? Like, it's clearly on a downward slide, right?
Okay, yeah.
If you introduce a plan that says, okay, we're going to start making money by saving money, or we're going to prove, we're on the cutting edge of a technology, we're cutting those people regardless, right? And we're saying, okay, we're cutting them not because we can't afford them. We're cutting them because we're recreating their work in a more efficient manner by introducing AI, right?
Great.
So hence we are AI washing.
Oh, okay,
That's
okay.
the term.
And this is being led because of Irenic Capital Management, who are basically kind of the money, and they're saying, right, we only care about money. We don't care about people. We don't really care about the company or the product or whatever. We literally only care about the bottom line. And here's the story. This is what you got to do.
And that's what they're there for.
I'm going to say this now, and I hope to God that everybody listening is sitting down.
Okay.
Elon Musk was right. We had it last week where Elon Musk was dead set against putting SpaceX on the market and doing an IPO and floating it on the stock exchange because, as he correctly says, once you do that and investors are in, they only care about the money and the bottom line, and they will ruin it. Whereas Elon Musk is not necessarily worried about huge losses or anything like that. He's going, our mission, moon base, Mars, whatever it is, and we will do whatever it takes to achieve the mission. Whereas when you go as a publicly listed company, the shareholders are kind of, hey, the mission is cool. Is it going to make us money? Oh, well, no. Okay, well, in that case, ditch the mission, do something else. That's true. Elon Musk was right. Other news this week, the EU say that their age verification app for online platforms is going to be available soon. Now, this is kind of going hand in hand with the EU are saying that every country in Europe needs to have a digital wallet, and I think it needs to be in place by the end of this year.
Right.
And a key part of that will be this age verification app, right? Now, I don't quite get this because one person in the EU was saying, maybe here's what it is, right? They were saying, we don't want to have to prove who we are using a photo or our face or our fingerprints or anything like that, okay? So the whole idea is that we have this app and it'll either, I presume the way that it works is it gives you a green mark if you're over 18 and a red mark if you're under 18. And that's the only thing, the only piece of information that you will get. However, to set it up, you need a passport or an ID card, which of course will have a photograph on it. And I bet you the ID or the app will need to take your photograph in order to match it up with the stuff. But however, they do say that aside from that, there will be no sharing of unnecessary data, and that I think it'll be available standalone, but it will definitely work through the national digital wallets. So you will have something. If you are into, I know, Niall, you don't like talking about this, but there are a lot of people who like to watch dirty images on the internet, believe it or not. Oh,
Filth.
Don't give me that face. They do, all right? But they like to keep that activity private, okay? And I think the idea of this age verification app is that they will just go, show it to the computer, however it works. It's like in my head, it's kind of like when you're doing a transaction using your mobile phone. You just put it up to a thing and it'll go ding, yeah, you're over 18, in you go. All right? I hope it'll be something like that. Irish privacy campaigners, though, are a bit concerned because they think that the app is going to link these age checks to PPS numbers in the national wallet. And then we're back to this whole thing with the public services card, which, as you know, at the time they were saying, well, no, you don't need a public services card in order to interact with the government. But if you don't have one, you won't be able to interact. No, we're not using facial recognition and storing this stuff in massive databases against the law of the land, which is exactly what they were doing. And it was all brought to court and they were told to stop doing it and whatever. So no, I'm on the side of the Irish privacy campaigners and kind of think, yeah, double check that, please. Definitely. And my most interesting thing on this whole age verification, particularly what's going on with Australia, because they have brought in a social media ban for kids who are under 16. And there was a story during the week to say that 60% of kids under 16 still have social media accounts. All right. And they're trying to do the same here in Ireland. They're trying to do the same in the UK, France, a couple of other EU countries. But anyway, here was a person from the EU. I don't know their name because they asked to remain anonymous. There you go. But they said,
enough.
Yeah, the aim was to protect kids from, wait for it, unintended exposure to inappropriate content. Not policing the people. And I love that expression, all right? Because if the kids want to go and expose themselves to unintended to whatever, all right? It's like kind of, when we were teenagers and we'd be somehow getting booze out of the off license at 16 years of age. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. And it's very much intended, and you have to really work around the problem in order to make it happen, all right? I love that phrase, unintended exposure to inappropriate content, because it means they won't stumble across things accidentally. I think that that's a good thing.
Okay. Why?
I don't think social media is good for teenagers. God, God, do you remember being a teenager? It was a horrible time. But just all that social pressure and and all that kind of how to deal with the world. And kind of not great. But it's the same with, kind of how do you deal with teenagers to, deal with smoking or weed or alcohol or whatever. You kind of got to put some restriction in place, and it is to protect the kids and to kind of, otherwise they'd be doing all these things when they're 12.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So it's that kind of a way. And I think I heard somebody else saying, and I think it was probably when I was going through the horror of being a parent of a teenager, that you've got to put up walls. All right. Sure, they'll jump over them, but you got to put up the walls because that's how they learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This is veering off into parental advice and not tech.
I will defer to you on that, Dusty.
All right. Now, you have what I think is the story, not of the week. I know we're only halfway through April, but you have the story of the month, if not the year so far, about, of all things, a shoe company. Tell me everything.
This is a fascinating story, and I think it speaks to the value of branding over product, right? There is a venture-backed company, and now that is a key part of the story. Really, this is a venture-backed company, not necessarily a company that was making money on its own, called Allbirds, and they made these sort of woolen shoes, and apparently they were very big in Silicon Valley because they were super comfortable. Right? Unfortunately, the company has been consistently losing money. Right. To the point where it went from sort of a multi-billion valuation all the way down to 39 million, and it had to close all its physical stores. So it's basically a shoe brand with a website. Now,
okay. Now, I've got that. What does this have to do with AI?
Well, the company in question, initially called Allbirds, now called Newbird AI, I've decided that, okay, we're no longer a shoe company. We are involved in AI infrastructure, and we have just locked in $50 million to go from footwear into GPU as a service. That's our business now. GPU as a service. We're an AI infrastructure company.
Oh my God. I mean, whatever about software as a service, but GPU as a service? I suppose that's what Amazon Web Services have been doing for years, isn't it?
It's quite the pivot. I mean, that's the story for not into shoes. How about GPU?
Yeah,
there you go.
GP shoe.
GP shoe.
Okay. GP shoe.
Well done. Well
now,
done.
Another fantastic story this week. It really is a case of, in the most sarcastic way I can say this, I'd never have seen that one coming.
Oh, no.
Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Tell me.
Okay, well, a little bit of context because are we as familiar with Live Nation as a brand over here?
No, but let's
No.
for the sake of this story, let's just say Live Nation equals Ticketmaster.
Well, it does. Live Nation owns Ticketmaster in the States. And they were up in court. They were brought to court by a number of states, basically arguing that Live Nation had a monopoly, right? Live Nation dealt with the venues. It also handled the ticketing. So therefore, if you wanted to put on a concert,
it represented the artists as well.
Yeah.
U2 would sell their entire global tour to Live Nation, who would put U2 in their venues and sell the tickets on their ticketing system.
Yeah, exactly. Therein lay the problem. That sort of lock-in. It's a triple lock, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Well, a court came back and said, you know what? No, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. Ultimately, this could see the breakup of Live Nation and Ticketmaster.
Yay!
That if a venue wanted to have a ticketing partner, it does not need to be Ticketmaster. And if Live Nation was to bring, we'll say, Taylor Swift to the Aviva, they will go, that's fine. Yeah. If I'm going to say, I'll take something else at random. Let's see, Selective Memory decided to say, hey, can we put on a show at the Aviva? The Aviva can't say, no, sorry, we're locked into, Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Yeah. And they can say, yeah, sure, come on in. And they can say, well, can we have, Billetto handle our tickets instead of Ticketmaster? Yeah, sure. We have no ability to manage that. So that's the kind of thing that could happen. So you would see venue booking, artist selection, ticket partner selection, all separate. Now, Live Nation would say, hey, we're a one-stop shop. We're super handy. We're super convenient. But of course, super convenient for everyone except consumers, which is where the problems come in. Because you remember 2020, gosh, was 2022 the Eras concert? When did Taylor Swift play in the Aviva? Was it 24?
Oh my God, yes. Oh, that was a disaster, wasn't it?
And the same with Oasis. High demand concerts go on sale. Croke Park concerts always crash the system. Or rather, both concerts in particular, both artists crashed the system. And we also had this ridiculous surge pricing. Which,
listen, come here. Just on the surge pricing, right? And I'm only going to be devil's advocate on this, all right? You get surge pricing with hotels. You get surge pricing with airlines. You get surge pricing now with, kind of Uber or whichever taxi app that it is that you're using. Do you know what I mean? So surge pricing is a thing in the market. I hate it. Personally, I absolutely hate it, particularly when you're out there with your app trying to get a taxi and it's kind of, well, there's a lot of demand. So like if you want to pay an extra €20, we'll get you a guy, or otherwise you can just wait like everybody else. Yeah. That's the one thing I really... Do you know taxi drivers have got their own app now? I forgot what it's called. It looks like a 7-Up sign on the thing. But essentially this is owned by the taxi drivers directly and not by Lyft or some other Uber or some other thing like that.
That's Link. I use that
Is
one.
it? Yeah. I definitely use that one. Because the good thing about taxis in Ireland, all right, it's a fixed price. Do you know what I mean? That's your call out fee. That's what it is per kilometre, yada, 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 and so on and so forth. And if the traffic is heavy, well, then obviously you're going to be slower, so you will pay more. All right. Yeah. And I think that's fair enough. All right. But if you're in the middle of the night and you're flying along, well, then the journey will be cheaper. But this surge pricing, like, it's too much demand and not enough taxis. No. Anyway, and the whole thing about Oasis. So I'm going to get off. Hang on a second. Sorry, just getting off the soapbox. Continue.
Well, I mean, we did see, ridiculous prices. And, it's kind of, I went to see Tool a couple of years ago in the Three Arena, right? And it was very funny because when tickets went on sale, they were initially over €200. And I was like, no, sorry. I mean, they could almost, I very much enjoy their music, but I'm not spending €200 on a ticket. The night before, I was at a gig in the Sugar Club, and I was with a mate of mine, and I said, sure, just for the crack, like, we might get a deal, like, so let's just see what's there. €70. €70. So snappity snap. got our
There you go.
tickets.
There's somebody ringing you right now saying, have you any tickets for sale?
Have I any tickets? So we got tickets, right? And on the way out to the gig the following night, the Lewis was full of people going, how much did you pay for your ticket?
No. Oh, wow. Why don't we say that on Ryanair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Anyway, listen, I think I know that the jury has not had the last word on the matter. There are still decisions to be made about how much fines are actually going to be put in place and if Live Nation needs to be broken up and to separate from Ticketmaster and its other enterprises and stuff like that. We will see. But the main thing is that the decision was made. It's Live Nation. Ticketmaster is indeed a monopoly. Now something will be done about it. Other news this week, an entire movie leaked on X.
Yeah. Now, I know how I feel about this as somebody, working in a reasonably creative industry, similar with you. We'll probably be of the same mind on this. But, okay, here's a tale. You probably aren't aware of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Animated show. Aware of it, but never watched it. Okay. Yeah. Animated show from, I think it was the 90s when it first aired. Not sure. Incredibly popular, developed a very fervent following, adapted into an appalling movie by M. Night Shyamalan, which is considered a stain on the franchise. Resurrected. You can find sort of the new version on Netflix. And now, a latest animated feature called The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, Aang being sort of the main character, has been leaked on X in its entirety. Now,
and this is before it's even been released.
Yeah. Now, here's the politics behind it, if you will. This was a film that was meant to get a full theatrical release later this year, right? This was a film made by Paramount. We know what's happening with Paramount through the various slings and arrows of outrageous mergers. And it was decided that, you know what, we're not going to actually release the film theatrically. We're going to put it directly to streaming, directly to Paramount Plus. If you want to watch it, you got to be a subscriber. And apparently the file containing the movie, or a file containing the movie, was emailed to basically the wrong person by Nickelodeon. The wrong person being somebody with a mind to actually post it on a social network. And they posted it on X in its entirety. If you wanted to watch the movie, just click on the thing in X. You could watch the whole movie. I know where I stand on this. I will quote one of the animators who worked on this film, Julia Scholl. She says, "We worked on the Aang movie for years with the expectation that we get to celebrate all of our hard work in theatres just to see people unceremoniously leak the film and pass our shots around on Twitter like candy. I don't like seeing people use Paramount's awful decision to remove the movie from theatres to justify leaking it. I totally understand folks not wanting to pay for or support Paramount Plus, but pirating the movie after its release would have at least been better than this. This is incredibly disrespectful to all of the hard work the artists put in."
When you hear it like that, yeah, it hits home.
Yeah, doesn't it?
It definitely hits home.
We work hard at what we do. It's a creative space. If somebody sort of uses an idea that, we've had in the past or is something similar to what we might want to do in the future, there's always a sting involved in it. If you create something in an industry, you do want to see a return from it.
Well, you have to. You can't make things for free. You might love to make things for free. You might even say to yourself, I don't want to be a millionaire once I can be creative. And I know lots of people like that. But the bottom line is you need to put potatoes or bread or vegetables or whatever it is on the table, and you need to eat. Rent and mortgages have to be paid. Kind of electricity for lights, just basics. And how do you do that? So no, it is difficult. It is very difficult, but kind of on a similar path in our last story for this week. This kind of shocks me, right? Because our TVs are keeping an eye on what we're watching. I love the way you go, yeah, of course. I didn't know this.
I'm actually shocked that you're shocked. It's one of these sort of dusty moments where you'd be like, oh, I wouldn't be surprised. And now we found out that something actually is the case. And you're like,
I'm well aware of Nielsen, and they measure TV viewing, and the way they do is they put a box into your home and it'll monitor what you're doing. And that's all part of the server. And then they multiply it up. And that's how we know how many people are watching everything. However, there is now something just built into your TV so that your network provider, when I say network provider, I'm thinking, kind of Virgin Media or whoever it happens to be that you're connected with, has a direct connection to your television. It's able to do something with software that can report back to say exactly what it was you were watching and when. How does this work?
Yeah, this is something specific to smart televisions, because, this is personal data we're dealing with here. This is partly something they're pretty good at gathering. It's a feature called ACR, or Automatic Content Recognition. Now, I learned about this on X by a gentleman who Navtoor, Navtoor, who is very good at exploring sort of the hidden gubbins of the operating systems or the devices that we use every day, and the ways they are secretly gathering data about us and how to turn off those features. Because this is something that, we would have agreed to in our terms of service, the things that we don't read. Yeah. And it's buried there in the television. Now, in particular, Samsung and LG were pulled up on this. And basically, think of it like the analogy he gives for it is Shazam, but for your television. So whatever you're watching, it takes these little screenshots of it and then sends it off to the company's servers. So whatever you're watching on your Samsung TV or whatever, it's constantly just taking little screenshots, sending them off home, every channel, everything that you do. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're using it as a TV or even a monitor. If you've connected your PC through HDMI, it's gathering that as well. So, it's figuring out, okay, how long you're actually using it as a TV, how long you're using it as a computer. And this has been backed up by an academic study from people at UC Davis, University College of London, and Universidad Carlos III in Madrid. And they found that ACR network traffic exists when you're watching linear TV, using smart TV as an external display, using HDMI. And what are they collecting? Well, every show you watch, every channel you switch to, every ad you see, and how long you've watched it for, your IP address, your device ID, and nearby Wi-Fi networks. Ooh, that is a lot of information.
However, your Christian name and your family name are not included.
Not included.
Which is something.
Which is something, I suppose.
It won't take long for them to connect A to B, but go on.
Yeah. So last December, the Texas Attorney General sued Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, and TCL for the same thing. A court blocked Hisense from collecting any data whatsoever within 48 hours. But Samsung settled in February of this year. But this is a thing that's out there. It's on your television. I'm sure. Just have a look online for some instructions. As usual, it is one of these things that it comes either switched on by default or is very easy to switch on, not so easy to switch off.
So, dear listener, next time you're watching Nationwide, just be warned, someone out there knows
that you watch Nationwide.
Exactly. Niall, as always, thank you so much for keeping us up to date with the news this week.
From TechCentral.ie, this is the award-nominated Tech Radio from TechCentral.ie.
Knowledge Summit Dublin returns to Trinity College at the end of June. This year's theme is Humans in the Loop, where a stacked panel of experts will be giving their thoughts on how to make the best use of AI, artificial intelligence. Niall Kitson went straight to the source of truth on this and met Knowledge Summit founder Barry Byrne to learn about the conference's history, its groundbreaking format, and the difference between data and knowledge.
Barry, thanks for joining us on the podcast today. Of course, we're talking about the Knowledge Summit Dublin, but it's not the day job. It's something of a passion project for you. So tell us a little bit about your career in knowledge management.
Sure. Thanks very much, Niall. And first of all, thanks for having me. Yeah, I suppose my career, if I talk about my career in knowledge management, it started when I was a military officer, actually, in the Irish Defence Forces. And probably what's going to link to what Angelica will speak to later or in your next interview relating to the Knowledge Summit. And that is, I was deployed in Lebanon at the time. And I realized that, due to threats we were facing and things like that, the importance of transferring knowledge amongst our people was hugely important. So I got really passionate about that and started to investigate it and went off and did a master's in Trinity, and was really fortunate to implement a project in the Irish Defence Forces around knowledge management. So I had a wonderful career there. That led me to a career with Novartis, which is a global medicines company, which I'm currently still very much enjoying. So I lead global knowledge management now for Novartis. And part of that role is ensuring how knowledge flows across the company. So how we share tacit knowledge, so the knowledge in people's heads, but also how we leverage AI, of course, to access the knowledge of all of our people. So that's what brought me to the world of knowledge management, and it's something that I really, really enjoy. And I suppose then if we talk about the Knowledge Summit, that's, as you said, a passion project. It's something that's really, really close to my heart. I essentially do this as something separate to my day job, and I'm really wonderful and grateful to Novartis for supporting that. But that was something that I really wanted to do in the city of Dublin, and particularly in Trinity College Dublin, which I have a close affinity to bring the global knowledge management community, who are wonderful people, who I find myself thinking about, like, why do I do this? Really, people who do knowledge management care deeply about sharing knowledge for the betterment of everyone, for mankind, really. There's a lot of work done in the NGO world around knowledge management, but of course, improving any company's performance and making any company a knowledge-centric organization is hugely topical today in the world of AI. But in the world of any workforce where you want to leverage the experience of your people. So the people that do that are wonderful, wonderful group of people. And I wanted to start a summit to kind of bring those people together and the thought leaders in that field together. And what better place than Dublin City and Trinity College Dublin?
So let's sort of get into that definition of knowledge management a little more, because we're used to talking on the show about data and the various problems when it comes to quality of data, where it comes from. Is it being used in ways that perhaps it wasn't, appropriately gathered to work with? When you're talking about knowledge management, you're implying sort of a secondary layer, or maybe a entirely separate professions coming together with sort of people that handle or wrangle data. So tell us a little bit more about that relationship between separate fields coming together.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Niall. So data is obviously an essential building block of information and knowledge. And the way it's traditionally described in the field is that as you add value and add context, it progresses up along towards information, knowledge, and wisdom. So some people would describe knowledge as experience, as Einstein did. But one of the descriptions that I like is that knowledge really is data in context to produce actionable understanding. It helps you create an understanding that you can then act on, that provides insights to your business and makes you do whatever you're trying to do better.
So I suppose coming back to Trinity, you mentioned that it's a venue that sort of you have an awful lot of affinity for. So Dublin made a fairly obvious pitch as a venue for the summit. So were you surprised by Dublin as sort of a talent magnet for getting people to travel? Because people do travel very significant distances to attend the summit.
Yeah, great point. And probably one of the reasons why I'm excited to speak to you today and speak to an Irish audience. It's quite astounding to me, actually, the distance that people travel to is, as I said, this is a passion project. It's something that I knew we always would have a great draw for, to have the world's best speakers in an incredible location like the Business School in Trinity College Dublin. So you've got that ancient historic connection, but also the world-class audiovisual and modern building capabilities of the Trinity Business School. And then the lure of Dublin as being an amazing place to come. But it surprises me the distance that people travel, from Australia, from the Philippines, from all across the world, South America, the furthest reaches of the world, really. And yet, I think I've done a poor job of perhaps raising awareness within Ireland. And it's staggering to me, actually, that more people whose doorstep it's on don't totter down the road to Trinity College Dublin to avail of this. That's one of the exciting opportunities to speak to you today. And I mean, we have world leading speakers from MIT and various other organizations all around the world traveling to share their knowledge. We have speakers coming from South Africa, you name it. And it's a unique and incredible opportunity for people, particularly based in Dublin and your listenership, and not just Dublin, but of course all of Ireland, to avail of that opportunity.
I think one thing that's quite structurally interesting about the summit is this sort of what you call the flipped format. So just, if you'd like to elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure. So that's probably the genesis of why I really wanted to do this. I've been in the field then. That story I told you, serving in Lebanon and feeling like I really needed help in this area, that was in 2008. So I got into this field in around that time. So I've been in the field a long time. I've traveled to the big leading knowledge management or data conferences for, going on 10, 15 years. And was becoming increasingly frustrated by the fact that, and this is not limited to this discipline, but all disciplines really, that a lot of conferences you tend to be spoken at. And a lot of the slots tend to be an hour long and you're spoken at for an hour. And notionally there's time for questions, but it always slips by. And of course, in today's era of, attention spans, many people just spend after the first 10 minutes just scrolling their phones. So what I wanted to do was to move away from that, what I perceived to be a broken model, and in true Irish style, in a bar in Washington, at another conference, I committed over a drink to say, I'm going to start one of these. I'm going to start a conference that does this better, a bit of an unconference, as it's sometimes called, where it focuses on the knowledge in the room. Because if you think about it, we have attending currently 200 to 300 people at our conference. So you have thousands of years of experience in a room. If you're not bringing those people into the conversation, you're really neglecting it. And of course, also people that travel to a conference, again, my day job, leading knowledge management for Novartis, I send my team sometimes to conferences around the world. I'm not really interested in the PowerPoint presentation that gets delivered or whether a speaker is a particularly charismatic speaker. That's not why I'm sending one of my team to another country. I'm essentially sending them so that they can meet incredible people and form meaningful connections. So that's the reason why I wanted to start this, was so that we'd flip that whole format, only allow our speakers to speak for 20 minutes, and then have a very structured and very scientific approach to how the next 40 minutes are spent in engaging knowledge discussions in small groups within the room and then the whole room as a whole. And then every evening there's opportunities to speak and connect with a knowledge pod. So we randomly pair you with 4 or 5 other people that are attending the conference. So there's incredible cross-disciplinary knowledge exchange during that. And then we also go a step further and we engineer many unique experiences that you can further exchange knowledge with your colleagues and friends or new connections that maybe travel from all around the world. So things like a mountain workshop with a very famous professor, Dave Snowden, up in the Wicklow Mountains in the beautiful Glendalough. We also this year are bringing in a Dublin Bay sailing experience the day before the conference. So all of this is created to showcase how incredible Ireland is, of course, but also to create these meaningful connections and foster these conditions for knowledge exchange, because that's what this is about. It's a conference about knowledge exchange in the age of AI. So let's role model that and do it properly.
Yeah, and that issue of AI, I mean, when we're sort of talking with Angelica later about it. It is kind of a hot topic. It's a significant challenge to knowledge management, I imagine, when there's so much misinformation and disinformation around. So where do you see sort of the discussion going in this area in terms of, who you've brought in, the kind of speakers that you've assembled?
Sure. So this year's theme is humans in the loop. And of course, that's a very catchy topic. I mean, when we started this summit 2 years ago, it was really at the start of generative AI. And really what the phrase at the time was that knowledge management is the new black. It's the new trendy thing to think about. Knowledge management has gone through cycles in the past of being hugely popular, and many, many organizations had a chief knowledge officer. Then it dropped off as I suppose there is sometimes a difficulty in demonstrating the return of investment of managing an intangible such as knowledge. And now it's experiencing this huge boost again, because everyone is realizing that in order to leverage AI properly, you actually need to have good knowledge management and governance over your data, and have that kind of semantic reasoning and a semantic layer as such to understand and reason over the data in your organization. So that's all about, things like taxonomy and ontology, and understanding how the connections between different data points in your organization, but also the connection to the human knowledge that's in your organization. So what that all boils down to really is that AI needs knowledge management, and knowledge management is becoming ever more powerful and ever more accelerated because of the advent and the explosion in the capability of AI.
So if you want to get involved, if you actually want to show up, how do you do that?
Sure. So if you're interested, and I would say anyone who is interested in improving the knowledge transfer in their organization, which is basically every organization in the world is a knowledge-based organization right now. But typically our attendees, would be chief information officers, chief knowledge officers, chief data officers, and then anyone who works in that field, of course. We also have people who work in the kind of library field, any technology and learning field. Anyone in that space who's interested or excited to come along, see world-leading names, go to www.knowledgesummitdublin.com or just Google it. You can sign up there online, and we would be very excited to help you experience what is truly a very, very different and unique award-winning conference.
And that was Barry Byrne, founder of Knowledge Summit Dublin. You can find out more about the event at knowledgesummitdublin.com. It happens on the 29th and 30th of June with tickets going fast.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
That's it for our show this week. As always, we've got a couple of more stories online we couldn't quite get to chat about, including...
Yeah, we've got some new research centres for the University of Galway and SETU. Trinity College gets to grips with digital security and societal resilience. And a mysterious data breach at booking.com.
You'll find all of those and more online at techcentral.ie. We're back again next Friday with a brand new show for you. In the meantime, please do share us with a friend if they're into tech and gadgets and what's going on in Ireland. Just have to look up Tech Radio Ireland on Apple, Spotify or YouTube. Until next time, from myself, Dusty Rhodes, and from Niall Kitson, thank you for listening. Have a great weekend.
Remember, you can get the latest Irish tech news with hourly updates, daily newsletters and more at our website, techcentral.ie. Share the knowledge and invite a friend to listen. Search Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for Tech Radio Ireland, or listen with RTE Radio 1 Extra. Tech Radio is produced by dustpod.io for techcentral.ie. From me, Artemis, live long and prosper.